Have you ever seen a driver finish second, yet leave the racetrack believing he had the fastest car? That's exactly what happened at Sonoma. For nearly the entire afternoon, Chase Briscoe looked like the one driver capable of ending Shane van Gisbergen's road course dominance. Lap after lap, he kept closing the gap. On the final lap, he was just inches away from making history. But one tiny mistake changed everything. Instead of celebrating what could have been one of the biggest victories of his career, Chase Briscoe walked into the media center blaming only one person, himself. And what he admitted about Shane van Gisbergen after the race might surprise a lot of NASCAR fans. So what really happened during those final laps? And why does Briscoe believe he actually had the better car but still couldn't beat SVG? We're breaking it all down, so make sure you watch until the very end. Sonoma delivered exactly what fans wanted. Everyone expected Shane van Gisbergen to be the favorite, but very few expected someone to push him as hard as Chase Briscoe did. SVG controlled most of the afternoon, leading 74 of the 110 laps, and once again proving why many already consider him NASCAR's road course specialist. But unlike several of his previous victories, this one wasn't comfortable. Chase Briscoe never let him relax. After the final round of green flag pit stops, the number 19 Toyota kept getting closer. Every lap, the gap shrank. By the white flag, Briscoe had turned what looked like another routine SVG victory into a real fight. Coming into turn 11 for the final time, he closed to within just a few feet of the rear bumper. Another lap, maybe even another corner, and the result could have been completely different. Instead, Shane van Gisbergen crossed the finish line only 0.357 seconds ahead to complete a Sonoma weekend sweep. But the biggest story started after the checkered flag. Most drivers would have been satisfied with finishing second behind the best road course racer in NASCAR. Briscoe wasn't. He immediately blamed himself. Speaking after the race, Briscoe admitted, "I definitely felt like I had a better car than we did. I just didn't do as good of a job driving it." That's an incredible statement. He's not saying SVG was lucky. He's saying his own race car gave him every opportunity to win, and he simply didn't execute when it mattered most. According to Briscoe, his Toyota was especially strong coming off the corners. He explained that while both drivers were fighting rear grip and dealing with the changing track conditions, his car wasn't sliding nearly as much. That allowed him to accelerate earlier and make up time every time they exited a corner. He even admitted that if he had gotten alongside SVG, he believed he could have completed the pass because his biggest advantage came in the braking zones leading into Sonoma's passing opportunities. Throughout the final stint, he kept pushing harder, especially under braking. Briscoe revealed, "The last 10 or 15 laps I just kept pushing harder and harder and harder." His strategy wasn't simply to catch SVG, it was to force him into making a mistake. In fact, Briscoe admitted he intentionally tried to pressure SVG into overdriving turn 7 on the final lap. And it almost worked. SVG ran a little wide, but Briscoe made the exact same mistake. Instead of taking advantage, he followed him offline. That single moment ended his last realistic chance to steal the victory. Afterward, Briscoe summed it up with one painful sentence. "I ran 1,999 perfect corners. Just the one I messed up." That's how close this race really was. Before we continue, if you enjoy honest NASCAR analysis without the unnecessary drama, don't forget to subscribe to NASCAR Nation News and turn on notifications so you never miss the latest stories. One of the most interesting parts of Briscoe's interview wasn't about himself. It was about Shane van Gisbergen. Rather than making excuses, Briscoe gave SVG enormous respect. He called him one of the greatest road course drivers in the world. Then came the quote everyone has been talking about. Briscoe said, "I felt like I was playing one-on-one against Michael Jordan." Think about what that means. He's basically saying that racing Shane on a road course feels like trying to beat the greatest athlete in his sport. You might have opportunities. You might even have the better game for stretches, but unless you're absolutely perfect, you're probably going to lose. Briscoe also praised something many fans don't always notice: SVG's tire management. According to Chase Briscoe, when it comes to tire management, I feel like he is the best in the world. That's one of the biggest reasons SVG continues dominating these races. He isn't just fast for one lap. He's able to maintain speed while protecting the tires better than almost anyone else. That allows him to stay competitive deep into long green flag runs when other drivers begin losing grip. Ironically, Briscoe felt his own car was also excellent on long runs. He explained that because the number 19 wasn't sliding around very much, it naturally protected the tires. That's why he kept reeling SVG in during the closing laps. Unfortunately for him, the race simply ended before he had enough time to complete the pass. Another fascinating part of Sunday's story is how dramatically Briscoe has improved at Sonoma. Just a couple of years ago, this was one of his worst tracks. He admitted his best finish before joining Joe Gibbs Racing was only around 23rd. And he never really understood how to attack the circuit. Everything changed after arriving at Joe Gibbs Racing. Briscoe credited crew chief James Small and the entire number 19 team for completely changing the way he approached Sonoma. They helped him understand where to find lap time, how to manage the race, and how to maximize the car over a long run. That transformation is obvious now. Back-to-back runner-up finishes at Sonoma prove that Briscoe has gone from struggling just to stay competitive to becoming perhaps the biggest threat to SVG on road courses. Even though Sunday's result hurts, it's also an encouraging sign. For the first time in a long time, someone forced Shane van Gisbergen to defend every corner instead of cruising comfortably to victory. As for Shane van Gisbergen, this win couldn't have come at a better time. Just 1 week earlier, his race ended in disappointment after getting caught in another incident, leaving many wondering if his momentum had disappeared. Instead of dwelling on that frustration, he responded the way champions usually do. He returned to one of his strongest tracks, swept the Sonoma weekend, held off the toughest challenge of his Cup career, and reminded the entire garage why road courses still belong to him. The scary part for everyone else? Even after another dominant performance, SVG admitted Briscoe was closing quickly and believed a few more laps could have changed the outcome. That tells you just how hard Chase Briscoe pushed him. The battle may be over for now, but if these two continue developing at this pace, their next road course showdown could become one of the biggest rivalries NASCAR fans will be watching for the rest of the season. Who do you think wins the next battle, Chase Briscoe or Shane van Gisbergen? Let me know in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe to NASCAR Nation News for more NASCAR updates.